Imagine you are doing your NG2 or IG2 NEBOSH project and you've decided to use noise as one of your hazards. I'm going to show you how we put it on our risk assessment right here, and also how we would use it in our specific legal argument section later in part 3. Firstly, I will say this. On your risk assessment, on any risk assessment actually, even in real life, you're only going to have one noise hazard on there, because there's no point duplicating like noise from this task, noise from that task, noise from that machine. There's no point doing that. Your harms, so the information in the who might be harmed and how, is going to be exactly the same. And the what are you already doing and further controls are going to be exactly the same for all of those different noise hazards. The examiner will just ignore any kind of duplicate hazards, and you also want to save yourself a bit of time and work, don't you? So we'll have one noise hazard and you will group all of the noise hazards together into one. That's what we do in real life. So we will type in noise. Noise is our hazard category. Remember, we always use the real hazard categories. Noise is our hazard category, right there. Now we have to describe the hazard. Don't just write down something like use of the grinder. That's not a hazard. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's a piece of equipment and it's an activity. Where's the hazard? A grinder has lots of hazards. It has got noise and vibration and sparks and electricity and abrasive wheels. And which one are you talking about? And you might say, well, noise, Will, because I said noise there. Yes, I know, but that's your hazard category. That's not your hazard. We're not doing the hazard category, we're writing a hazard. So why don't we say noise from? There we go. Noise from the grinder. Now, in my opinion, it's not enough. In many examiners' opinion, this isn't enough. We want, like, what's wrong with the noise? Because the noise could be really quiet, couldn't it? Or it could be very brief. Exposure to noise is both the volume, you know, the decibels, and it's the time. It's that which makes exposure. So we could say loud noise. How about that? Loud noise and long duration of use of the grinder. Something like that. Just big fat malpractice warning. If you've made it this far, do not copy what I'm writing. If you start copying other people's work, there's a very good chance you're going to be reported for malpractice. We have lots and lots of subscribers. And if like more than one of you copies what I'm writing here, then chances are NEBOSH are going to identify, oh look, these two are the same. Look, they've written things exactly the same. They've been copying Will on Compassa's videos, and both of you are banned, and you deserve it. So there is your hazard. Now, if you've got lots of different noise hazards, you could say during the full shift, maybe from all workshop activities such as grinding and metalworking. Write something like that. Group all of the noises together. Noises? Is that even a word? Your who might be harmed and how? Well, that's going to have to cover a who and a how, obviously. But what is the how? The how is an incident and it is a harm. We need all three things in this column. So who? Well, that will be the people in the workshop, presumably. So we could say something like the fabrication technicians, or whatever their job title is. The fabrication technicians are exposed to loud noise for a full shift every day. And that's the incident. That's the incident right there. So we can get rid of that. And what's the harm that could cause? Well, in your course materials, we talk about the harms, don't we? We talk about tinnitus and threshold shift and hearing damage. Let's keep it technical. So let's say something like, which could cause long-term tinnitus and occupational deafness. And there we are. We've got who might be harmed and how. Now, in these controls, we're going to need quite a wide variety of different controls, and your controls have to bring the organization into legal compliance. We want lots of controls here. We also want you to demonstrate your good understanding of the hierarchy of controls. So do not fix this just with hearing protection. Let's try to eliminate some of the noise sources. Can we remove some people from the noisy tasks? Let's try and substitute some machines for quieter machines. And then in terms of the administrative controls, like, we do have to bear in mind what is legally required. Like, it's legally required to train people on noise, to maintain the equipment, to have signage warning of noise hazards. Now, legally speaking, we're going to get into the law in a moment, but if you're in the UK, if you're an NGC student, national student, you'll be wanting to use the control of noise at work regulations. And here it talks about exposure limits. It talks about the monitoring as well. So you've got to monitor that people don't go over the exposure limit. So we want monitoring. Here it mentions health surveillance. We want health surveillance. If there's a risk that people are going to go over the exposure limit, then we need health surveillance. And we might also need hearing protection depending on what the exposure is. So make sure you get all of that in there. Now a bit later, if you decide to use one of your noise actions here on the action sheets, you're going to have to write some specific legal arguments. So again, the UK students, you have to use legislation that is specific to the hazard, in which case that would be the control of noise at work regulations right here, which I just mentioned. And so you're going to use one of these duties. Now, which duty? It depends on your action, you know. So if you're recommending hearing protection, you might use this one. If you're recommending maintenance of equipment, you might use that one. If you're recommending hearing tests, you might use the health surveillance one. It's like, choose which one. Please note though, UK national students, you cannot use guidance here. Don't use any guidance documents, don't use any ACOPs. We want an actual law, like a regulation, that one there. International students studying the IGC, you should use specific ILO legislation for this hazard, if there is any available. And there is a code of practice for noise. Type this in, noise. There we are. There's one there, protection of workers against noise. There might also be an ILO recommendation. Have a look around for various conventions, recommendations for the hazard. Look, there's one there, working environment. Have a look at those and see if those work. Now, how do we phrase this? Well, I would just refer you to the tutorials a little bit later on how you phrase that legal argument, but I just wanted to tell you what legislation is most appropriate to put in that box. Anyway, hope you found that useful, and I will let you crack on with your studies.